Hello, YouTube world. So, I'm reading the Riot Act to Kamloops. Maybe not all of Kamloops, but certain segments of the population. So I moved to Kamloops almost exactly 3 years ago. It was at the first week of July of 2022. I came from Vancouver, where I've lived all my life, and I have, incidentally, I have ancestors from the Vancouver region going back to the 1800s. I came here after my marriage to my husband fell apart, and I could no longer afford the condo that we were living in on just my income alone. It was a condo that we were meant to share the expenses on. So with his income gone, I had to come up with something, and I ended up in Kamloops. And I've been living in appalling conditions since I got here. Nobody would rent to me. And okay. And it's in a hotel. When I first got here, I was charged about $700 a week, so that's about $2,800 a month. And my income was $2,400 a month at that time. And okay, so that was not sustainable. But over time, I managed to talk the landlord down, and now I'm at the point, I have been for some time now, where I pay $1,400. And I am on PWD, so disability, and with that I would get a total of $1,515. So my income's gone down as well compared to when I first got here. Okay, $1,515 a month, but $1,400 is for rent, so that leaves me with $115 a month for all the other expenses of life. Okay, and I don't believe in committing crime. Like I don't have a criminal record. I've never done that. That's not in my nature. So, but I had to do something to figure out, like, to survive, right? I have a survival instinct. I don't have a death wish. I'm not suicidal, so it's not my desire to die from malnutrition. So how I feed myself, and I suppose stay physically active, is by walking around town and collecting empty cans and bottles. Okay, and I could usually make about $20 a day doing that, which is enough to eke out an existence. Okay. And I don't rummage through garbage because I don't really like to get my hands dirty. It's not my approach. I look into a garbage can, as I'm passing it, I just look inside, and whatever if I see any empty cans or bottles, I will take those. And but I don't dig through the whole thing, and I don't leave a mess. If anything, I leave these garbage cans cleaner than when I first arrived, because quite often the lid is off the can from somebody else, and I'll put the lid back on how it's supposed to be. I'm also collecting cans and bottles that are just thrown in the street or thrown in the park, litter, essentially. I've had several people come up to me while I've been doing this over the years and thank me. They thank me for helping to keep the city clean and for helping to divert recyclables, right? These are recyclables, out of the garbage stream. They're not supposed to be in the garbage when they're recyclables. And so that's what I'm doing. And so I'm able to go to the store, I'm often treated like a shoplifter, though, even though I've never shoplifted in my life. But I'm able to go to the grocery store and buy whatever I need, basically, with dignity, because this is what I do. But in recent weeks, I've noticed I've been harassed by several security guards and community services. Okay, so, and I don't know why they would be doing that. First of all, community services, like, I was in a strip mall and they approached and said, the owners of the mall don't want you going through the garbage. I'm non-confrontational, I'm against violence, so I simply said, all right, I'm out of here. And I left. Okay. I'd like to say that I have actually purchased items at that mall from money that I made from collecting cans. So the owners would like to put an end to the income that is used to buy, that one of their customers uses to frequent their business. And I thought that Kamloops had more of a conservative mindset, so I would have thought that people here would have appreciated that, you know, I'm not looking for a handout. I don't ask for spare change or anything like that. I don't look to commit crime. I am doing work, okay, to make a little bit of money in order to support myself. The alternative is literally starvation. I've tried to get help from Ask Wellness to no avail. They said that I would be eligible for a monthly subsidy, which would help tremendously, and I jumped through all sorts of hoops. In the end, I got nothing, but the landlord of the hotel benefited because he got a full damage deposit paid, because at that point I had to get a monthly tenancy in order to qualify for this subsidy. Before that, I was only a weekly hotel guest, and so when I made the transition from weekly hotel guest to being on a monthly rental agreement, then a full damage deposit had to be paid. Before that, there was only a $100 deposit on this room, which I paid. So he's ahead. He got $700, which gets deducted from my monthly income. $20 or $25 comes off what I would get, and I got nothing out of it. Okay. And so, but I would just question, what community does community services represent? Because most of the people, people come up to me and thank me for helping to keep the city clean. There's a tremendous problem in this city with garbage and litter in green spaces. So, you know, people appreciate that I'm helping to combat that with what I'm doing, and they thank me. And some of them also give me their empty cans and bottles. So that's the response from the community. So I don't know why community services would be having a problem. Okay, or the security guard at the hospital. So if I'm not collecting cans, I'm going to be at that hospital because I haven't eaten. I'll be there as a patient. You know, I was also recently seriously harassed by a homeless person who was wanting me to buy him a drink. And there was no community services around then. And I just like to point out that there's a great deal of concern for the homeless. Homeless people have more money than I do because they don't have to pay rent. So they don't get $1,400 deducted for their rent. Okay, they would get less if they're on welfare. They would get less because they're not going to get the $500 shelter amount. but that's only $500. They would still get the majority of their welfare, which they could spend on however they see fit, because they don't have to pay rent. So they have significantly more money than me. And yet, very often, these are the ones who are making the messes that somehow gets pinned on me. Just because I walk up to a garbage can that has a mess all around it, and people see that I'm picking the cans and bottles out of that mess, they assume that I made the mess. I didn't. You know, it's not my responsibility to clean the entire city. I try to leave things cleaner than when I arrived, but it's not always possible. So, I don't know why people would be so opposed to what I'm doing. I ended up here because I was told to wear a skirt at my workplace. And even though I have gender dysphoria, I am not transgender. I identify with my biological sex, which is a man. I would have thought that there would be more support for that here in Kamloops than there is. So, I mean, I just think it's appalling how somebody who is trying to do the right thing, trying to support themselves, trying to keep their dignity, trying to remain within the law. I mean, I'm always going to. I will never shoplift or steal. It doesn't matter how hungry I am. But somebody like that, there's so much animosity towards me, from security guards and community services now. What are the community services going to do? I don't need housing. That's why I'm in this predicament, because I have housing that takes all my income. Are they going to give me money? Because that's what I need. So, I mean, incidentally, you know, I've lived in the roughest parts of Vancouver, the downtown east side, lived and worked there. I've lived in the roughest parts of Surrey. Never in my life have I been publicly assaulted, but I have in Kamloops. In my first year of living here, I was attacked in a random act of violence and robbed of my cell phone and sunglasses. And that crime has never been solved by the police, who did drive me to the hospital. Never in my life did I have a broken bone or stitches until that incident in Kamloops. So it's, in my experience at least, it's been a far rougher place than the roughest parts of Surrey or Vancouver. Yet there's a great deal of animosity directed at me, as though somehow I'm responsible. So I'm tired of the looks of derision and harassment that I get when I'm out in this city. So I could use some money today. There's certain things that I need. I'm going to go without. I'm not going to collect any cans today, because I need a break from this very nasty, very mean-spirited city. There used to be a mural in Superstore that said the friendliest town in BC or something, or in Canada. No, it's not. People in Vancouver are more friendly, actually, which is saying something, because they're not very friendly there either. So, I think you really need to take a second look at your conduct, certain people in Kamloops, and reorient yourselves to support someone, or not even support, I'm not asking for your support, just don't attack or have animosity towards someone who's trying to do the right thing under very difficult circumstances. That's all I have to say.